So welcome everyone. I am very excited today because I'm going to be talking to you about something that keeps coming up. It's trending. There's always lots buzzing in the market about vascular detox. And today I have one of my good friends, partners, and other health experts, Stacey Zita, joining. And she's going to be shedding some more medical light on the importance of vascular detox. So welcome, Stacey. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So vascular detox, we're hearing about it a lot in the news. I'm definitely getting a lot of questions from clients about it. In your professional opinion, how would you describe what vascular detox is? And then why would you say it's something we should be paying attention to right now?
Yeah, so I think the name actually sends people down the wrong path of what they expect that it's going to be. People are probably wondering why they need to detox their blood vessels because they think vascular, they think blood vessels. They don't necessarily see how it translates to their everyday health. I think that's where we run into kind of problems with the name and people understanding what is it for and is it for me, right? So I'm going to steal a little bit from one of the doctors that works on our team. His name's Gary Brecka. He's a brilliant human biologist. And he really found a beautiful way to really break down the processes that the vascular detox helps and make people understand exactly how it's going to impact their own health and whether or not it's for them. To be fair, I don't think there's a single person that can't benefit from the vascular detox. And I don't think there's anyone that necessarily would have any problem with either of the products that are recommended. If anyone's on a blood thinner, warfarin, Coumadin, that type of thing, I would definitely get that double checked first, speak with your doctor, speak with your pharmacist to make sure. But other than that, vascular detox is safe. So the general basis is about oxygen supply. So death comes from lack of oxygen, a lack of oxygen to your brain. And the way that Gary Brecka talks about it, he tries to educate people in thinking of death as not an event, but as a process of oxygen depletion happening over time. So how do we deliver oxygen to our brain? We deliver it through our vascular system. It's, through our blood vessels, through our red blood cells. So there's really two ways to increase that. It's to widen the blood vessels with a vasodilation technique or reduction of inflammation, if that's the reason they're narrow. And also to increase your red blood cells. So some people, especially anyone who knows anyone who's anemic, the chief complaint is exhaustion. And that's really because iron, oxygen, but they're both delivered by the red blood cells. So this is a really good indication of the impact that can take place. So let's talk about the products. Did you have them there, Jess?
I do. So these are the two products that I have been using. I'm happy. I've been using the vascular detox for a while now already. And I use that for my autoimmune. But what I have here is the OPC3, which is the massive antioxidant, which I'll let you talk a little bit more about, again, how it works in this regard. And then the curcumin extreme, which is a lot more than just curcumin and turmeric. So these are the two products that combined are considered to be the best combination to support that vascular detox.
So anyone who's dealing with something like hypertension, thyroid issues, ADHD, OCD, depression, anything that is affected by any of our what are called methylation pathways in the body will be helped by these products. Mainly because every disease and every issue is basically an issue of missing something. We're missing an ingredient that we need. So sometimes we're taking it in, we're taking the supplements, we've got it in our diet, but for some reason our body's still not making use of it. And that's when we have to look to how our body's breaking it down to use it. When those raw materials come in, no raw material comes into our body in its usable form. It's got to go through a certain methylation pathway to then make it into a usable form. So for example, let's look at thyroid. There's a lot of people with thyroid conditions, right? So we require T3 and T4. These are the things that our bodies will use for our thyroid. Thyroid will use. Our thyroid will make some of our T3, but the rest of our T3 actually comes from our T4. 80% of it comes from T4 methylated into T3. So when we have problems with hypothyroidism, oftentimes will be given Synthroid or a like medication to then up the amount that's in there. So we're kind of attacking the thyroid. The thyroid isn't really doing anything wrong. It's doing its job. The problem is the methylation pathway isn't efficient. We're not methylating enough T4 into the T3, and we want to ease the pathway. So that's one of them. Remyelination is another one that's come up as well. I was reading about, Parkinson's, anything that impacts the myelination process. Again, another methylation pathway.
Can
Dopamine.
you explain a little bit, for example, with the methylation process on the demyelination? Like, can you explain what it would exactly be doing to support the demyelination process?
So it's just delivery system. We're just taking the raw materials and able to then break them down into the usable form. It's the process of breaking it down that isn't optimal. And
so what you're saying essentially is that if I took those products in another format, another formula, and they didn't break down properly, they weren't used properly, then I'm not actually going to get the benefit from the product, which is that it's going to reduce inflammation in my nervous system and my myelin sheath, which will stop creating the deterioration that's been happening now, because it would add in a layer of protection, but only if I actually get the product that is able to protect me. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it sounds like. That's exactly what he was explaining. I don't know enough about remyelination to know exactly the mechanism that's in place, but I know that it's done through the methylation pathway. And if that is not efficient, that is oftentimes the problem.
Okay.
And an easy solution if it is the problem.
Okay. So it really, a lot of it is everything sort of that is related to blood and oxygen, which is most of the conditions that we deal with, because it's something somewhere is shortchanged or deficit, or there's inflammation preventing it from working properly. So this vascular detox products will actually, it should, in theory, as long as it's being absorbed correctly, help us for that body to function in a way that it needs to support whatever illness or situation we're dealing with. Is that sort of?
Yes. Yeah. So let me give you an example that really kind of made it crystal clear in layman's terms. Again, Gary Brecka had broken it down this way. He says, imagine if you took crude oil directly out of the earth and tried to put it in your gas tank.
Right.
How well would your car run? Not very well at all. You can't use it in that form. It needs to be refined. That crude oil needs to be refined into a usable product that our car can now run on. It's really the same thing. There's multiple different pathways, products and pathways that this takes place in. Like I told you about the T3 one, the remyelination one. There's a dopamine one, so that's going to impact people with any kind of dopamine issues. ADHD, depression, anything like addictions, even things like that. So it's multiple different layers, but the same functionality, just using different raw products and outcomes.
Gotcha. And you're not saying this treats those conditions. You're saying it can help support these conditions 100%. And improve the symptoms that are connected to these conditions. Because like, I always think it's important. We're not saying supplements are the same as medication. What we're saying is that if you want symptom management and to try to help support the root cause, supplementation can be really successful in that regard. And so if you're looking to take action to support your vascular health, then we're saying these are products that would be a good option to try, and understanding why and what the benefit would be. Is that a pretty good? Okay.
Exactly. Support is actually the perfect word, because again, you never know exactly what the problem is. Your doctor may not even completely understand why you're deficient in a certain thing or experiencing a certain event. But since we know that all of these products have to go through a certain process, and that process could be interrupted, to be taking two very natural products like pycnogenol, which is the main ingredient in the OPC, and the curcumin, which is mainly turmeric, also very well known for its health benefits, in very, very usable forms. Even if your gut isn't really able to break down other medications, these are in a very usable form.
Right.
The OPC is liquid. It's basically liquid form once we add it to the water, as we all know. And the other one's just in a very thin cellulose capsule. Okay,
perfect. And so, I mean, for those of you that have heard me chat about bioavailability before, you know that I'm big on that not all vitamins and supplements are created equal. And Stacey just gave us a great example of the fact that, we need to find something that's going to do the job for us. And so I'm big on the closer we start to a state of isotonic, the closer we start where our body can take what we've just given it and start using it right away, the more we get from that supplement. And so going back to that OPC and curcumin extreme, those are both products that should fairly quickly be able to be utilized by your system, even if your system has weakness in it. So I think, this was really helpful in sort of explaining why it's trending, and the fact that I love that you said it's about oxygen and it's about our blood cells and reducing inflammation so that things can function better, so that everything is in more optimal state, which will reduce our symptoms. So if people are looking for more information, if you're okay with it, I'm going to share a link with this so people can get a bit more information. And if they would like to actually try the products, I will also include a link so that people can go ahead and get their hands on this curcumin extreme and this OPC3 and give themselves a kickstart with vascular detox as well. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up? This has been a really awesome call so far.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I just don't see any reason why this wouldn't be something to try if you've been suffering with something, that involves one of these pathways. All of our nutrients are delivered the same route through our blood system. So give it a try, give it 30 days and see if it makes a difference for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. And for those of you that are watching, please stay tuned, because Stacey and I are going to be continuing to create more of these and share the word on health and nutrition and wellness and what it means to be able to take care of yourself and take some control back with your health. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.